woman. That's a story captured on page 31 of the People Daily. A matter of time and we get to declare that, but they are all Kenyans and we appreciate and celebrate, you know, the way they are just getting us to that space. Country of the poor. New demographic survey reveals that half of Kenyan men and women lack land and houses, and large number of children stunned or malnourished. A story captured on the front page, expounded on page 2 and page 3 of the People Daily. Gender violence, teen pregnancies, rampant cases, and I think we have as well touched on that. Definitely a report that we need to sink into and understand some more on what, you know, we are lacking as society and why it would be important for us to relook into our behaviors. Sung back at Kenya Pipelines as CEO after 4 years in the cold. Interesting. A story captured on page 6. We certainly hope that it will not be a case of graft after graft, but a way of making sure that the pipeline then functions proper. Let's drop the papers and look at these stories prepared by my team. It's exactly 21 minutes past the top of the hour. Now, Amani National Congress Deputy Party Leader, that is Margaret Ntongai, has expressed confidence that her former party leader Musalia Mudavadi and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua are in good terms. Ntongai says people should stop peddling speculations and focus on moving the country forward. And she adds that the roles of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and those of the Deputy President were defined well by the President, and that each one of them will perform their duties to help the Kenya Kwanza government deliver for the people of Kenya.
To any kind of war, because they want the government to succeed in its agenda for working for the Kenyans. So Kenyans should stop those petty politics, especially some branches we can see, or they are trying to bring some animosity between the two leaders, the Deputy President and the Cabinet Secretary. That one should stop. Let us give the government, the running government, the ruling government, ample time to work for Kenyans. Those people are friends I know. I'm the Deputy Party Leader in Amani Coalition, and I know those people are at peace with their leadership. And in addition to that, they have defined the roles. Kila mtu anajua ni nini anatakikana afanyie serikali yetu na wananchi wa Kenya. ANC, the way forward, it is to support the existing government of Kenya Kwanza. Our party leader, former, joined the government. He is no longer handling the party issues. Party issues are being handled by Governor Timami from Lami, acting, and the party officials, who are some of us, me talking and others. So the party leader is no longer involved with the party issues. He is busy with the government.
Now, years after a real estate company evicted 55 squatter families from the Ndururumo farm previously owned by John Britton Pollard, a white settler in Solai, some family are living in total poverty here at this camp, as some have already died and buried due to depression from the harsh conditions, and are now pleading with the government to take up action to help them rebuild their lives. Chichi Josephine with more details.
As you head to Lake Solai, an upcoming tourist attraction site in Nakuru County, a camp made of tattered polythene and rusty iron sheets stands on your right with young children running around. The camp has been in existence since April 2019, when a real estate company evicted 55 squatter families from the Arjaz and Ndururumo farm, previously owned by a white settler. A walk through the camp, sitting on a 150-meter stretch of the road reserve, one comes face to face with a true definition of extreme poverty, compounded by disease and pain.
Sisi tulibomolewa manyumba, ndio maana tunapata tumekaa hapa barabara, hatuna mali pa kwenda.
The camp accommodates 30 households, and here some families have survived the extreme conditions, and some of them now buried at different locations. We meet Mary Ekeno, who was rendered a total orphan at the camp.
Tumeishi barabara muda ya miaka 5 na tunakaa hapa tu Ni Mungu tu tunangojelea na hatuna vile tunaweza fanya, hatuna otherwise. Mtu yote mwenye anapita barabara, wakipata chakula yote wanatuletea, si tunakula.
She says she doesn't know anywhere else to call home. Inside her polythene tent, she only has a cooking spot and her beddings piled at the extreme end placed on stones and a heap of soil. It is indeed pathetic.
Kwa saidi ya baridi, naye baridi inatupiga, mvua ikinyesha inatunyeshia mpaka kwa manyumba, tunashindwa vile tunalala na watoto.
To access water, the people living here are forced to trek 4 kilometers to get to a seasonal river.
Story na maji, si tunatoa maji kwa mbaya. Na before tuende pale tunatumia pikipiki ama punda ndio tuende tupate maji yenye tunakunywa.
Life for women and girls at the camp seem challenging, as having decent clothes is considered a luxury there.
Sasa serikali si tumejaribu kuongea na hawa, pengine anaonekana hana haja na sisi, tutafanya nini? Si wanapita hapa sini barabara, kwa serikali apite hapa.
Nelson Kamar, another squatter, explained that his parents had worked for the first white owners of the piece of land since 1976 and on the 709-acre coffee farm. And one morning, they woke up to bulldozers flattening their homes under heavy police manning.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa wafanyikazi kwa hii shamba. Baba aliingia hapa 1976 na walifanya na mzungu alikuwa anaitwa John Britain Poland. 2019 ndio tuliweza kufahamiwa na maofficers na tractor ikabomoa kijiji, demolish, na sasa sisi tukahamia kwa hii kijiji, tukahamia hapa kwa barabara.
Kamar explains that the extreme conditions at the camp have seen them lose elderly members whose frail bodies could not withstand the weather. They say their pleas to government have landed on deaf ears and is yet to take up any action to help them rebuild their lives.
Mali yetu ni kwa serikali ni ya kwamba hawaangalie jinsi watu walivyo, jinsi wakuwe na huruma. Tumekuwa na uvumilivu kwa muda mrefu. Hii ni miaka 4 sasa tukiwa mahali hapa.
This state of affairs is said to be contributing to increase in teenage pregnancies, as many girls have been forced to leave school, an issue that they now want the government to intervene and help them rebuild their lives.
Kuna wale wanasoma kama 3-4 hivi, wale wengine hawasomi. Watoto karibu 30 hasomi.
Si vizuri sana, watu wameketi hapa, wamekaa hapa kwa miaka na miaka. More than 50 years wamekuwa hapa na wamefukuzwa mahali wanakaa.
Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Now, Naivasha Level 4 Hospital is on the spot following the death of a woman a day after delivery at the facility. It is reported that 23-year-old Rebecca Wangari died from excessive bleeding and she was awaiting the doctor's aid.
After getting wind of 23-year-old Rebecca Wangari's death due to alleged negligence at the Naivasha Level 4 Hospital, angry residents stormed the facility in protest, demanding justice, on the process blocking part of Kenyatta Road. Samuel Muhari, brother to the deceased, alleges that delay and negligence by health service providers at the facility led to Wangari's death, detailing how they waited for 8 hours before their sister was finally admitted to the maternity ward, only to be abandoned again by medics.
Tukarudi tena, tukakuta amevalishwa hizo nguo za theater na akona lebo amesign, akatuambia amesign. Sasa sisi tukaogojea aende theater. Tukakaa, tukarudi, tukaenda, bado tunampata hapo nje ameinamilia, hajapelekwa. Sasa ilibidi mtoto ajitoe peke yake. After apelekwe, tukashinda vizuri, ako sawa. On Monday bado wako sawa. On Tuesday asubuhi usiku alilala akitupigia text. Sasa unaona hakuwa na damu, alibleed, na huko ndani alituambia aje hakuwekwa damu na alibleed damu yote. Sasa bado tukiwa hapo kwa leba tulichungulia kwa dirisha na bro yangu. Ilibidi tuchungulie venye apiga nduru. Tuliona manasi wakichota hivi damu, wakiweka kwa bakuli, wakiweka kwa bucket. Sasa Wangari hata ungejua ni wakaragani. Jua alikuwa amelalia, hiyo kitanda yake ilikuwa inakaa damu.
Angry residents led by Simon Peter say that similar cases have been occurring at the facility and are calling for investigations into the cases so that those responsible can be held accountable.
Wanakuja tu kliniki vizuri mpaka wanamwambia date. Kwa hivyo hakukuwa na shida yoyote.
Mwaka jana tulikuwa na kesi ya mama mwingine wa Kenongi. alikuja hapa hakupewa attention na alipata mtoto kwa flow, huyo mtoto wake akapoteza maisha yake. Wamama wetu wanaumia hapa kwa hospitali na hakuna watu wa kuwaulizia.
However, the hospital's administrator Elisha Waweru has rubbished claims of negligence, terming the incident as unfortunate in a facility that was overwhelmed by the number of emergency cases in the maternity theatre on the day that Wangare was admitted.
The mom was taken care of, the nurses were present, the doctors were present, and they did everything else they could do with what they had.
When they saw that the situation is critical, they called the medical officers. Unfortunately, the medical officers were handling several other cases in maternity theatre. I remember there were two, from the preliminary report, I was told there are 2 mothers who were on waiting to go into maternity theatre, and she was the 3rd.
Wangare's child is still under observation at the facility's pediatric ward. Sylvia Nyongesa, TV 47.
Leaders in Tiaty Baringo County now want Tiaty constituency split into 2 as a way of dealing with rampant cattle rustling cases in the area. Bandits have continued to cause trouble, making it difficult for residents to get essential services, as Collins Lusweti details.
Tiaty constituency has seen increased cases of cattle rustling and frequent banditry attacks. In Kegir area, armed herders are said to cause great disturbance, taking over water points in the area and sending fear among locals. Baringo County Commissioner Abdirazak Jaldesa is now sending a strong warning to the herders, saying they will be punished, same as bandits.
There is no herder who is allowed to move with firearm because there is no need. That's one thing.
The area has also witnessed conflicts over grazing fields, especially at the border between Tiaty and Baringo North constituencies, prompting the government to come up with grazing committees that will help address the conflicts.
The formation of grazing committee, I have already directed the administration in Tiaty and Baringo North to convene the final meeting on Thursday. Thursday is a day after tomorrow, so that the issue of grazing must be done in a very systematic way.
Leaders in the area are now pushing for a creation of another constituency in the area, saying Tiaty constituency is too vast, making it impossible to deal with cases of cattle rustling as well as deliver services to residents.
Tumekuwa na proposals ya kuunda sub-county mpya ya Tiaty Central. Sababu ukiangalia kimakini, hii dunia ya Tiaty ni kubwa sana. Na proposal yetu ni kuleta administration as close as the people as possible. Na hiyo ndio proposal tumepeana kwa county commissioner, na tumeomba serikali kuu itusaidie kuwa na new sub county, new divisions, ile pia machiefs wakaribia watu, na tunataka raia wa feel presence ya government na waone kwamba mambo yao yanaangaliwa na serikali.
Tiaty residents have backed the proposal, saying it will be a game changer in tackling cattle rustling as well as bringing government services closer.
Tumefurahi sana na tunajua services yetu itakuwa mzuri. Hata vile watu wanaenda mbali na travel Tangulbei, wengine na travel Kolawa. Kwa hivyo services kikuja Central namna hii, tunajua mambo itakuwa mzuri.
Collins Lusweti, TV 47.
The National Police Service Commission, NSPC, has called on men and women in uniform serving or servicing in the National Police Service not to shy away from reaching out to the recently formed task force led by Emeritus Chief Justice David Maraga and share their opinion on how best they can work, in terms of conditions of the National Police Service. The Maraga-led task force is the first ever formed to relook in matters police officers. Mwege William with that.
At a time when the boys and girls in blue remain among the most unappreciated in the country, the National Police Service, the body mandated to oversee the human resource component of the police force now transiting to a service, has lauded the move to put in place a task force that will, among other things, look into the challenges affecting officers, including remuneration. A According to the Commission's chair, Eliud Kinothia, Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga-led committee has swung into action with its first meeting happening Monday with the Inspector General of Police Japheth Koome.
Things to do with your basic pay, things to do with your allowances, items to do with the housing, items to do with insurance, matters to do with your welfare, work environment. This task force, we are in place that the big part of its mandate is to look into this area.
Confirming that for a while there have been undertones of lamentations among officers, Kinothia encouraged any officer with an idea or opinion on how to better their terms and conditions of working to appear before the Maraga team and make a candid presentation.
We are sure that this is the time for police officers to come out and to be able to air the issues that are really affecting them in these areas, and the task force will be able to reason to them and will be able to take into consideration all these matters.
The Commission using the platform to address the gaps brought about by the transition in health insurance service provider from NHIF, which has resulted into some officers missing out on the critical service.
I would call these systemic startup problems or challenges that will be sorted with time and as soon as.
Police reforms were among President William Ruto's campaign pledges in the run-up to the 2022 general election, and since being sworn into office, a number of executive orders have been made, among them financial independence by appointing the Inspector General as the accounting officer.
The police, I have sat down with the command of the police from the IG downwards, and we have agreed.
The Maraga-led task force, consisting of 22 members, is expected to oversee reforms at the National Police Service and Kenya Prison Service. Muigi William, TV47, Nairobi.
And the move to recruit a total of 30,000 teachers by Teachers Service Commission this year has received a backlash from educational lobby groups, saying the process of recruitment is too little too late as the school calendar resumes on 23rd January. And as Mike Kagungo reports, the lobby groups demand that the Ministry of Education ensures effective and wide-ranging consultation with all relevant players in the education sector, including civil society organizations, as well as meaningful public participation in line with Article 10 of the Constitution.
Members of Elimu Bora Education Lobby Group have raised concerns over the state of education system in the country. Days after Ministry of Education said they will recruit a total of 30,000 teachers this year. The lobby group poked holes in the transition from the 844 to the new curriculum, which they say has left more than harm than good in the wake to a grossly damaged education sector. Deeply confused parents and learners left with more questions than answers.
We have a system. If CBC is not ready, why can't we continue that 844? Yes. Which we had known, which we had trained teachers on how to handle, which we had equipment and facility. Exactly. Or somebody is sponsoring us. If you implement this CBC, they will give you foreign aid or what? What is this CBC?
The level of demotivation that we have within the teaching cadre is so high. And this is why we actually require to be addressing some of these things a little bit very well.
According to Elimu Bora, the implementation of the CBC education system that was rolled out in 2017 has been seen by many as a case of putting the horse before the cart. Teachers Service Commission TSC in December 2022 declared that 30,000 teachers will be recruited in the new year, with only 8,000 of them being placed under permanent pensionable employment. The level of preparedness, especially those who will be deployed to teach in junior secondary schools, is however seemingly still not clear.
We have been writing about these things. We have been presenting these things to the Ministry of Education. But when we went there, boss, last time, we were told that the train had left the station. Why is the train back?
844 was about children, about learning to pass exams. Therefore, it was for them to go home, do their homework, memorize whatever they need to memorize in order for them to pass examinations. But here, it's about competencies. We are trying to find out, when it comes to issues of art, what interests do our learners have? Parent will be able to identify, this child of mine is good in art. This child of mine is good in, they are interested in planting or doing something. They are good in craft. They are good in cooking, you know. So, and once we identify that at an early age, the parent together with the school will be able to nurture that particular talent, that particular competency for better education outcomes and for the good of this child and our society in the future.
The interim report of the Presidential Working Party on educational reforms recommends, among other things, that primary schools and neighboring secondary schools will share laboratories and other facilities in the junior secondary schools. Elimu Bora Working Group dismisses this recommendation, considering that the actual distances to neighboring schools could be much longer than imagined.
So there's a lot of inconsistency also, and if you do remember, the party, the ruling party now, under the let's say Kenya Kwanza administration, actually the part of the vote they got was because they promised Kenyans that they'll do what? That they'll do away with the CBC.
They look into it.
Isn't it? Yes. They were very, very categorical.
So they look into it.
Yes, and so in that aspect, then you're asking, what has changed? How is it that even the framing of the terms of reference are framed around largely very heavy on the CBC and with a view to just now sprucing it up and making it look better?
Elimubora also raised concern about the increased insecurity of learners in school, which they said has led to many appalling and senseless deaths of students.
Tuliopatia the first version and draft, they have the first draft. Hatujui, pengine ndio kwa maana walikuwa wanatupigia, hatujui kama wameipeleka kwenye ile taasisi ya serikali kuhusu curriculum, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Manake sisi ambao ni wanaharakati hatuko kwenye serikali, lakini tunawasiliana na zile taasisi ambao zina wajibu wa kutengeneza hizo curriculum.
The lobby demanded that the government steps up to give Kenyans quality, inclusive, affordable and lifelong education. They want the Ministry of Education to ensure effective and wide-ranging consultation with all relevant players in the education sector, including civil society organizations, as well as meaningful public participation in line with Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya. They want the Ministry of Education working with the relevant agencies to strengthen the curriculum to include life skills and other key competencies such as national values and principles of respect for human rights, fundamental freedoms and civic responsibilities. They also want the Teacher Service Commission TSC to ensure timely recruitment, training and deployment of qualified teachers. TSC must ensure teachers are well remunerated for the noble work they undertake. Mike Kagwongo TV 47, Nairobi.
Now, the total fertility rate in the country has dropped from 3.9% in 2014 to 3.4% in 2022. This is according to the just released Kenya Demographic Health Survey by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. That also shows that there has been an increase in the percentage of children who have been vaccinated from 27% in 2014 to 80% last year.
The survey, that is the seventh one to be conducted since the first one in 1989, shows that at least 1 in 4 Kenyans have insurance cover, with the percentage of men covered vis-a-vis women covered being higher. The number of vaccinated children has increased from 27% to 80%, with the country's fertility rate dropping from 3.9% in 2014 to 3.4% in 2022.
The decline in under 5 mortality from 115 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2003 to 41 deaths per 1,000 live births in the 2022.
In the survey, whose data was collected between February 17th to July 13th, 2022, the average number of sexual partners among Kenyan men is 7.4, while the average Kenyan women 2.3%. 85% of women and 72% of men have tested for HIV and AIDS, with the number of gender-based violence among women being at 34%.
Despite the achievements made, the country is faced with a number of socio-economic challenges, including a high level of adolescent fertility, mental health, chronic diseases, high unmet needs for family planning and contraceptive commodity, HIV and AIDS, malaria, and TB.
13% of women have been reported to have ever experienced sexual violence, with 15% having undergone female genital mutilation. The Kenya Demographic Health Survey is conducted after every 5 years. However, KDHS 2022 has been released after 8 years due to the dire impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. For the first time ever, the survey has included data on mental health. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
A standoff looms in the composition of the 7-member selection panel expected to nominate IEBC commissioners for a term of 6 years. The Senate Justice and Legal Affairs have proposed to amend the composition of the panel as approved by members of the National Assembly in the Elections Amendment Bill of 2022 before they broke for recess last year. And as Apollo Kamau reports, Busia Senator Okiya Omtata has opposed the inclusion of other interest groups in the panel, saying it should be made up of politicians only.
The electoral body IEBC is staring at a vacuum from Wednesday after IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati and 2 commissioners, Bolu Moya and Professor Abdi Gulie, vacated office on Tuesday, having completed their 6-year tenure. The battle to control the electoral body through the 7-member selection panel, which is yet to be formed, has now shifted to Parliament, where Kenya Kwanza and Azimio are locked in a supremacy battle to influence the nomination of the next IEBC team to oversee the 2027 general election, and one that will be held accountable.
So we are just trying to delay a problem, to rearrange things in a basin, instead of getting rid of the things in the basin. So we are going to pass this bill and whatever, but because the parliament is majoritarian, a single voice means nothing, but we are not solving the problem.
I want to call upon Senate to be very open to this and know that it is not something that perhaps this government has had a hand in, because that can create some friction here and there.
The Senate Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, which is finalizing amendments to the IEBC Election Amendment Bill 2022, has proposed minor amendments to the composition of the panel against what the National Assembly approved before going to recess in early December last year. The Senate JLAC team has proposed the Parliamentary Service Commission be allocated 1 slot against the National Assembly's 2 slots. For the Political Parties Liaison Committee, Senate JLAC proposes 2 slots to represent Kenya Kwanza and Azimio coalitions, while in the National Assembly approved bill, political parties had been given 1 slot, with Parliamentary Service Commission getting 2 slots to represent minority and majority parties. The other slots stay as they are.
If they disagree, then we have to form a mediation group of members of the National Assembly and senators. And from there, then if we don't agree there, the bill dies.
There's always political interests at play, but I do not believe that there should be an issue, because like I have highlighted, this was not initiated by the current government in place. This was as in regard to a petition that was filed by people who are not even part of this government.
With the team set to spearhead the nomination of IEBC commissioners, supposed to be in office 14 days after the declaration of vacancy, the earliest the panel is expected to be formed is mid-next month. In a proposal likely to elicit protests from other interest groups in the panel, Busia Senator Okiya Omtata proposes the other groups be removed to have a no-politician selection panel similar to the Inter-Party Parliamentary Group of 1997 that nominated then ECK commissioners.
We are still fitting a round peg in a square hole. And it's going, we're still not cracking it. Because I strongly believe that the IBC, the commissioners of the IBC should be nominated by political parties. The way we did with the IPPG, which worked and gave us a credible election.
So this is something that everyone is trying to get included, so that we don't have people feeling as if perhaps the legislative arm of government is overtaking the recruitment process.
Apul Kamau, TV47.
Yes, and so Apollo Kamau decides that it has to be Okoiti Omtata. His real name, yes, but we are all used to Okia Omtata. Well, that aside, President William Ruto now claims that there was an elaborate plot to abduct, torture, and kill outgoing IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati in the run-up to the announcement of the 2022 presidential election results. With the aim of subverting the will of the people, the government has now pledged to ensure Chebukati and Commissioners Abdi Gulie and Boya Molu also get adequate security during their retirement. Flora Limuki now reports.
As the curtains come down for IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati and Commissioners Boya Molu and Abdi Gulie, after 6 years at the helm of the electoral body, Chebukati has handed over 3 documents to President William Ruto that entail his exit report, the 2022 election report, and most importantly, a letter seeking the inquiry of the BAMBA chaos that erupted on August 15th.
We ran a free, fair, credible, transparent election 2022.
While meeting with members of constitutional commissions, President William Ruto has made accusations that members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) were offered bribes and threatened over the results of the August 9th presidential election. On the afternoon of August 15th, Kenyans were treated to horrific scenes as chaos marred the National Tallying Center Bomas. During the announcing of the results, the IEBC commissioners were divided as Chebukati 3 remained in Bomas while Cherera 4 released a parallel statement at Serena Hotel.
That there was a direct attempt to abduct Wafula Chebukati and murder him.
Subsequently, the commissioners were threatened with dire consequences for them and their families if they did not comply with the alleged agents of state capture and overturn the will of the people. At the center of all this fiasco is the National Security Advisory Committee, NSAC, which is said to have gone to see Chebukati alongside other commissioners at the National Tallying Center, asking him to ensure a runoff if he couldn't declare Raila Odinga the outright winner in the 2022 presidential election.
The mechanism constituted a syndicate to execute a series of strategies consisting of bribery, blackmail, extortion, threats, and intimidation of various public officials of the IEBC, attempt their abduction, torture, and assassination, to storm the National Tallying Center and attempt treasonous insurrection.
However, Ruto and other leaders acknowledged the integrity and leadership of Chebukati and the IEBC, praising their commitment to constitutional responsibility and the ability to conduct 3 successful elections.
I want to salute Wafula Chebukati and the other 2 commissioners for standing up for Kenya, for doing the right thing, for refusing to be tempted by bribery, for rejecting intimidation and threats to overturn the will of the people and subvert the Constitution.
Your commitment to the Constitution must always be firm.
Chebukati has set the bar for us, that you can actually do the right things in the face of incredible adversary.
In the event, 2 other chairs of commissions, Dr. Jane Kiringai of the Commission for Revenue Allocation and Eliud Wabukala of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, gave their exit reports as their tours of the duty also come to an end. Flora Limuki, TV47.
Now, the Salaries and Remuneration Commissions has painted a grim picture of our government choked by hefty allowances paid on top of salaries to state officers and civil servants. Chairperson Lynn Mingich says that strict measures should be put to place in the government if the government is to achieve its plan to increase revenues for development.
In the sitting at State House, Nairobi, SRC Chair Lynn Mingich painted a grim picture of the country's priorities as far as remuneration is concerned. Mingich says civil servants are paid humongous allowances, a scenario that leaves little, if any, for development.
We look at the wage bill itself, it's not just about the absolute basic salary that is an issue, but we've got a lot of wastage when we talk about allowances, when we talk about benefits. There is a lot of wastage. And if you look at the amount of money that goes into allowances, in some institutions, it is more than 300% of the basic salary.
SRC, together with the Office of the Auditor General, saying both levels of government spend a bigger chunk of their budgets on recurrent expenditure like salaries and overheads.
The Controller of Budgets reports indicates that for a number of counties, up to 65% of their revenue is spent on the wage bill. And hence, it's not surprising that we still, as a country, especially if you look at the ASAL areas, we're still at the point of food relief. We should not be there as a country.
The grim reality coming just after the president recommended austerity measures aimed at saving billions that ought to be taken into development.
We have seen the equitable share to county governments increase from 190 billion in 2013 to 407 billion that we recommended this year. And collectively, that translates to 3 trillion shillings since we started devolution. Your Excellency, that's a lot of money that can catalyze a lot of development if it is utilized very well.
The president now finds himself between a rock and a hard place as he came into office with ambitious plans to increase national revenues through the collection of more taxes.
Assigned the High Office of Deputy President to assist the commissions to negotiate their way and to appreciate the nature of the budgets that you need, because you have said in this meeting that sometimes when we sectorize our budget, you get lost in between, and sometimes you are forced to compete for resources with the very people that you oversight. And therefore, it is in their interest to make sure that you don't get as much resources so that you don't give them trouble.
The Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, led by the Office of the Deputy President, now tasked with coming up with ways and means in collaboration with the counties to ensure the government achieves its goal of revenue collection.
Your Excellency, in the formation of your government, you did designate the role of coordinating and creating a liaison function for constitutional offices, constitutional commissions and independent offices in my office, a role that we have already created structures to start implementing. And Your Excellency, you have been very clear in your instructions to me that that role in no way translates into us meddling into the independence of these commissions.
Thank you very much.
The chalk development, certainly one thing that needs to be looked into. The Kenya Kwanza government and the president, to be precise, has been very categorical that it would be important for some of these things to be looked into. How necessary it is something that we have to wait and see, but importantly, just how possible then it would be is equally one thing that is of great importance. And in the event that these allowances are reduced, as proposed, would it be helpful to the growth of the economy? And well, a question of wait and see, and perhaps something that we'll briefly touch on before we proceed to articulate on the other matters that we'll be looking into. So welcome on board once again. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. I say welcome on board because it's time that we shift gears to a different conversation. And shortly I'll be getting a hold, or actually they're here, and so I'll be introducing them for us to get to that conversation. Political historian, none other than Professor Macharia Munene. For the very first time, we are hosting him this year. And we'll also have the Member of Parliament of Embakasi North, that is Honorable Jimmy Gakuya, and then we'll be having a gentleman joining us shortly. We were expecting to get a hold of Moswap, Member of Parliament, but unfortunately I'm told that he is not able to make it this morning. But all the same, the conversation must continue, and so I'll be looking at some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast. As for now, allow us to take a quick short break and we'll come back to that.
Yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics.
Sabak.
This is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, like this is alive.
Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia. Kwa sura zao zinapong'aa, hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo story na historia. Katika kipindi Ufahamu Kiongozi, tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutu.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes, and I should watch what I'm eating.
All right, and allow for me to introduce the gentlemen as I also allow them a chance to speak to the people as well. Say hi and jumbo to you as we get to this very important conversations. We'll be taking a look at this report by the SRC. Most importantly, this revelations by President William Ruto as to the exit of the IEBC, having received that report, and also what really played out on the times of the election, that is the 9th of August 2022. Definitely the question of education, and not forgetting some of these reports that we receive, just what are some of the key indicators of progress that they speak of in this very important report of the state of the nation, but just what needs to be done so that we look into these vices that are becoming so common and literally, weighing down the moral fabric of the country. Gentlemen, thank you so much for creating time to be with us as we get to this very important conversation. To say that, we have lots of allowances that are being given left, right, and center to government officials. These very allowances that choke development. It's not the first time that we're talking about this, Honorable Member of Parliament of Embakasi North. As you say hi to your people, what does this mean? This report by SRC, and this also articulated by the president himself. I remember the other time that they were somewhere for the cabinet session. I am told he had to tell the cabinet secretaries to cater for the allowances of those ones that they tagged along. Is it really possible for us to work as a nation without some of these allowances that we speak of?
Thank you, Linda. Allow me to salute the viewers wherever they are watching us from, and coming to the concern. One, let us say what our government has been implementing is what our constitution has envisaged. You realize that if it is commissions, commissions are very anchored in our constitution, and they have their own mandate. Maybe what can be done is to differentiate whether we need all the commissions full-time or whether some commissions can be part-time. And that is the only way that the issue to do with the issue allowances can differ. But if we still keep these commissions full-time, then there is nobody who can work for free. And therefore they are entitled to their allowances.
Right.
So that we should not keep crying. And if there is a danger on that particular area, then the commission should at least recommend, and its recommendation should be at least taken to the floor of the House for the members to decide whether to retain them or maybe to shelve them. If there are those commissions maybe which are not of their need as for now, if maybe the feeling is that we need to remove some of them, then that can be already done through a process. But you cannot just wake up and kill the commissions that are given power by the Constitution itself.
This is what it says, that the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, that, you know, it's quite a grim picture for the government that is choked by hefty allowances paid on top of salaries to state officers and civil servants. And therefore, the chairperson, that is Lynn Mengich, says there's need to have strict measures on this very matter so that, you know, we can be able to achieve the government's plan of, you know, getting revenues or to increase revenues for purposes of development. And it's not the first time that we're getting some of these reports. I think we have seen governments after governments speaking of how we have to reduce the allowances that are accorded to some of these, you know, officers. We also understand that it begins from that very moment where we have new members of parliament, we have new crop of leadership. They have to go for induction, they have to have their, you know, PAs, they have to have the people who work with them go for these processes. Are we realistic when we argue that there's need to look into these allowances, you know, in a different way? And just how possible and how much of a magnitude will it have in making sure that we're able to collect more revenue?
Collecting revenue is one thing. How you use that revenue is another matter.
Is another. Allowances is using.
Yes. Allowances is using.
Yeah.
I think there was a point being made that there are expenditures that do not have to be there. Whether in the name of allowances or whatever, which goes down to, is a function necessary that these people go to and then get the allowances. And then next to that is the question of joy riders.
Yes.
Actually, the problem is
that is the big problem, yeah?
Yeah, it's not even the allowances.
Yeah.
It's the joy riders who then get a lot of allowances for joy riding. I think one of the good examples was the meeting in Cairo, where there were almost 400 people to go and watch climate change. And you wonder, what were they doing there?
Right.
And when you checked, it was who was who of who.
Yes.
You know, there may be the people who are needed were about 40 or 50, which is okay. But when you have about 400, you start wondering, those joy riders.
Yeah.
That's where the expenses goes, not in the real work that has to be done. So the real work that has to be done has to be done.
Yeah.
And the people involved must be involved, and they should be looked after. I mean, it would be awkward to say that somebody is needed in Kampala or Arusha, and then get it out of your pocket. You know, that's official work. So that one should be taken care of. The joy riders are the ones to be weeded out, and there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
That's what and I think that's what the president tried to imply when he told ministers, you brought some baggage, look after your baggage.
Yes.
You know, because that baggage is not part of it was not invited.
Yeah.
So you look after that. So I think it's a balancing act. You cannot say that you cut out functions, essential functions of state, to say that you're cutting cost. Because if those functions are not performed, then there's no development.
To argue, and this I think the president has said at some point in time, that would definitely get to a space where we say some of these meetings, really, let's do them, you know, in these boardrooms that we have. We don't have to travel to the coast to have some of these sessions. Is that really realistic at all?
No, I think it is. Yeah, those are the excesses.
Those are the excesses.
You know, because there are some things that can be done in Nairobi. People don't have to go to wherever.
A workshop, a retreat, a
yeah, you know, although there are times when it's necessary to do that. There's no question about that. There are times when it is necessary, but it is not every day.
Yes.
And ministers, do they have to go to Mombasa or when they can meet in the cabinet room?
Yeah.
The State House or wherever it is. So those are things that to be weighed. The gravity of the matter at issue.
Okay.
There may be some issues that really you want to lock people up for a day or two so that they are forced to think together.
Yes.
As opposed to thinking in silos.
Right.
So there is that element. So it's a balancing act. And it needs to be looked at carefully, but there should not be blanket condemnations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is interesting, and allow me to acknowledge the presence of another guest who just joins us, you know, and we are glad that you're here. We're just beginning, so you need not to worry that maybe we have not done much, and so it's an honor to have you this morning as we also articulate on these matters of what is playing out in the country. Just looking at what it is that the Salaries and Remuneration Chairperson is proposing in relation to the difficulties that we experience. Lots of allowances. Now we're asking ourselves, are they necessary? What needs to be done to cut them off? None other than Stan Alusiola. Yes. It's good to have you, Stanley, who's a civil rights activist. Asante sana for creating time. You're amongst the people who speak for the people.
Yes.
Even though there are instances, some people argue that you take these, you know, conversations to the extreme.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not for goodwill. Well, we will get to establish that as we continue with the broadcast. Yes. But yes, it's interesting that these very people who get the allowances, these very officials, are the ones who will come back to tell you stories of how much, you know, they had fun in America. They perhaps did not even sit in these sessions to represent the country. If they were going for benchmarking, they do not come back home with anything much. And these have gone with other officials. They have gotten allowances. And you ask yourself, is there value for money in these meetings that are conducted in different spaces? When we are talking of, you know, making adjustments to this, just how realistic are we? And it's not the first time. I think I've asked Mheshimiwa that. Even in the Uhuru government, we constantly heard of this talk, oh, we're going to reduce allowances. To a large extent, it was. But still, we have these problems.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity once again. I would want to agree with him that there is a lot that is happening in terms of state officials amassing lots of allowances from either foreign travel or even internal travel, in the pretext that they are trying to serve the country or execute their mandate. And it's not just about those at the executive level. This is also happening at county level. You find governors and deputy governors and even CECMs walking around with a lot of people. So I want to really applaud the Salaries and Remuneration Commission for trying to come up with these measures in order to curb a lot that is being wasted through unnecessary allowances. For example, he just said issues as related to the climate change conference that took place somewhere. 400 people, really. Who are these that are going to present issues at that panel? I think it is just an issue that needs to be discussed at village level, county level, and even at national level. So I am for that. And for sure, something really needs to be done.
All right. Yes. Let's briefly talk education before we shift gears to a different conversation that is in relation to the exit of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And I know we discussed this extensively yesterday, but also upon, you know, the presentation of their report to the president, I think it's also a conversation that needs to be taken a notch higher. It is a developing story. Professor, the education sector, in your own opinion?
It's in a mess.
Yeah.
And he admits that. Then something seriously needs to be done. Sometimes it appears as if the education sector is a playfield where people try their experiments here and there. The implementation of CBC has been a disaster. And whether we like it or not, it's a mess.
Yeah.
And Mheshimiwa might do something in Parliament about it. I don't know. The conceptualization of it was in doubt. How was it done? And essentially, what is the difference between CDC
and 844?
And 844? There's none. Because back in 1980s, early 80s, when 844 was being introduced, the same argument were made.
Yes.
That these students are not learning how to be self-sufficient, to be hands-on, to be all those things, So we need to change them so that they can be. And then you listen to this.
Skilled.
It's the same thing.
Yes.
So if something went wrong with 844, what was it?
Right.
So we need to find out what happened to the 844, because the arguments were the same. And then ensure that this new one does not fall into the same trap. And then we have another president another time who come and say, we need to change this.
Yes.
So this habit of saying that we need to change something without really clarity as to what is being changed is a problem. And it's not starting now, it will go on.
Yes.
Because yes, there is need for reforms. There is need for re-evaluation, review all the time, so that the country and the students are up to par with the rest of the world. And they know, that at least technologically, they are there.
Yeah.
And that is okay, but the question that comes up, are they also intellectually up there?
So at this
there is a difference here.
Yes.
Because the purpose of education is to enable people to be self-sustaining and to oppositions who keep on making the same mistake.
Yeah.
Say you don't need the humanities and the sciences.
Yes.
You need STEM. Say, yeah, okay, fair enough. That's good.
Okay. Then what?
Then what? Because then you still need that other angle, which
the
is
balance.
The cementing, part of it. And when you do that, then they balance, they come together, you play together, and the country moves forward. But when you have a situation where the humanities and the social sciences are thrown out of the window in total blanket, then it is a disaster in itself.
In the making.
Because then what happens next? The country starts borrowing thinkers from outside.
From outside.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have a lot of those borrowed thinkers who are advising. We keep on getting some people called advisors.
To advise.
Yeah. And you ask, and what are they advising?
Yeah.
And because you need them because you ignored a vital component of your education.
Yes.
The social sciences. Yes. Let me not go into the universities, which are also a disaster in themselves, because there's something wrong. The thinking and the production. At the University of Nairobi, some time ago when I was there, lecturers used to be in the offices. And when they are not in the offices, maybe they'll be in the senior common room. But they are there. And they would be thinking. They were looking at the ceiling and thinking they are thinking. At least they produced things.
Yes.
You could see
some thinkers, you could see,
Yeah, you could see. I think nowadays it's very hard to find lecturers in the offices.
Wow. And I mean, we ask ourselves that we have a problem clearly. And in as much as we say that the 844 has produced perhaps the best of students based on what it is we see with our young ones and how they're coming up to be creative, how they're coming up, to find their spaces, without having to focus much on the question of, of employment. Dr. Mheshimiwa, do you suppose then there would be that need for us to rethink this? And will a reverse really do in this very case?
Rita, maybe my observation is that we have a vacuum between generations to generation. Because you realize that during our tenure in school, we have not been realizing teachers in strike. Today, it's a business as usual. We couldn't realize a situation where, like what we have witnessed last day in what we call exam marking. Realize that there was a boycott of such serious event. To my thinking, I think the generation that was there before was more committed, had passion and commitment to their business. But today, we have a generation which does not care. Whether it's the teacher, whether it's who, he doesn't care. What is, we need to put the nation first at all levels of sectors. But most of the generation we have doesn't care about the nation. So we don't care what will happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're only caring of your own stomach. And that is the first aspect in your thinking.
Yeah.
And even when you are actualizing your daily job. And that is why, leader, we are in a mess, because we don't have committed men and women of this country who takes the interests of the country first.
Okay.
You realize in all sectors, one is just waking up, getting to job, but he's in his back mind. He's not intending any progress. He's just thinking on what today will I live to get back home with. That is his first thought. That's why you realize that corruption is everywhere. The vice is too high that today, reader, in most of our offices, including counties and government offices, you go, put your invoice here, you just find it there after 1 month. Nobody would dare to think that actually it is his duty to make it flow all over. But until when you just ask somebody, niaje, umpange kakitu.
Yes.
Kitu haitasonga. So in his mind,
even when it's your right and it's about education,
I am telling you,
just have to.
You realize that actually we have retirees who suffers a lot. This somebody, the office he's just getting every morning is an office where he is supposed to be at least taken care of with a single day and clear him off.
Yeah.
But you realize you are panicking that person over 6 years, day another, and the final is just there until when you be seen. And this culture is too bad. And I can tell you, this country, unless we get back we look how we get back to universe, we are lost somewhere. I don't know what we are going to do. Because to change the minds of the people, already this vice is in their mind. And it has totally captured them. I don't know what we do. Because every other sector is equal to other.
Even getting your child to school, a good school for that matter, as we would look at them. They say sometimes you have to toa kitu kidogo, so you can speak to so and so that you can have your child enrolled, and it's pretty much common. I mean, just where are we headed when you look at this, and also just picking it up from what it is that Professor speaks of?
Yes.
Valid points.
Yes.
Are we in such a bad state, such that we are handicapped to a point that we cannot think to ourselves? He says copy-paste. It is what we have seen with most of the African constitutions, that they will look at a constitution of the West, a different country, and then they bring it and impose them in their people. Sometimes not to address the matters that affect their people, because we are all different in a way.
Yeah, I want to agree with Professor, because generally as even the economic model, our constitution, and now the CBC, I think it's all copy and paste.
Yeah.
We seem to lack experts or professionals who can think as relates to the needs of this country. Like in the context of CBC, we have 2 weeks to our grade 6 going to grade 7. And we hear the minister talking about so many things as in relation to how it's going to be set up. 2 weeks to our students or pupils going to grade 7, and there's nothing that has been done.
It's total confusion.
Yes, he talks about counties now trying to enumerate which schools are able to usurp these numbers. Some schools that do not have these facilities are to be merged. What criteria? 2 weeks to guys going back to school. I think I would really agree with him that the education sector is in a total mess. When I heard that CBC was being introduced, I asked myself, is it that I went through a wrong system? what is it that has
oh, you got scared for a moment of the 844.
Yes, what is it that has actually necessitated this?
Yeah.
What kind of skill that missed during the 844 system that wants to be created now? Because there's sometime I heard that thousands of nurses were being exported.
Exported, yes.
To Botswana.
Yeah.
And you go back to Botswana.
And then we get Cuban nurses as well.
Yes.
Into the country.
See, so as much as Kenya is exporting,
we're also importing.
we are also importing.
Yeah.
So, and these people who are being imported, exported or imported by those countries from Kenya are being taken as very good at what they are doing. So I will agree with Professor that we do not really need to copy and paste. Because a certain country has done this and they are doing well, we should not just run and take over or try to copy what they are doing and bring it into this country. Okay, issues of the Constitution. We are being told that we have taken the British system and the American system. Now you see, up to today, we are still talking about the Constitution because maybe the fathers of the Constitution-making process did not look critically at what needs to be done at the local level. So I want to really ask the minister today to rethink, because this is something that was brought, I think, in the second term of the President Uhuru, or is it the first term? I don't know. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But what necessitated? And if CBC is going to change the whole scenario, including national values, how we look at national values, how we generally portray ourselves as Kenyans to other nations, how we are looking forward in terms of moving this country from where it is to the next. Mheshimiwa has spoken about corruption. Corruption is, I think it is a subject that should be inculcated in the curriculum at maybe class 2 or 3. You cannot now tell somebody who has gone through a system that is corrupt, even in terms of exams. There are people who access exams even before they are distributed to schools. You understand? So here I am, a man or a woman who actually did an exam that was stolen. I know very well that I got the exam before other people did it. Now, I've been given a job. You expect me to do that job without stealing?
You will steal.
I will steal.
Because you got away with it.
Because, I got away, and I know it is normal. Therefore, I want also to agree with Mheshimiwa that the curriculum, as we are talking about CBC today, as we also try to think about the 844 system, what are the values? Are we talking about just a system that will put people at the workplace? Or we are looking at a system that will grow up a citizenry that respects humanity, respects climate, respects principles, whether social, economic, or any other, so that we are moving wholesomely to a paradigm shift whereby the country is being, because you look, if the president will talk about so many nice things, but what are the people doing at that lower level? So I think if we look at the education system and correct it, the country is going to move forward.
All right, as we close.
Linda, let me add just a little bit to it.
Yeah.
We have been told that people are not getting the right education because they do humanities.
Yes, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Now, today, we have so many doctors and so many people who are sick. Yet the doctors are jobless.
Yes.
Today. We have so many engineers.
These ones that have not focused on humanities.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and yet they are engineers who are officially jobless. We have so many teachers trained.
Yes.
And we have so many schools that need teachers. Yet they are not teachers. Teachers are jobless. There used to be time that a teacher is trained in a TTC straight
Go straight
to the classroom.
Yeah.
Engineers They are jobs. Doctors, they are hospitals. So there is a disconnect somewhere. Thinking is wrong. So it's a fallacy to say that people are jobless because they did not do that.
They don't have the skills.
Or they, something is wrong.
Yeah.
And that requires higher thinking.
Right.
That does not condemn one or the other. And this issue of corruption, which you mentioned, yes, it is there. But one of the ways to get rid of it, I think, is a good education.
Yeah.
Yes.
From baby school,
all the way up.
All the way to the university. And it's a tragedy that people go through Kenyan education system without studying their history. Right. That's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
Yes.
And we've lost it completely.
Yes.
Even with the books, just learning our history. As a matter of fact, this is clearly going to be a game of the past.
Yeah.
It is worrying.
And then you find out why are people not getting it.
Yes.
And you go to a meeting and you find people who make policy officially. And they will admit they don't know what Kenya's national interests are.
Zero knowledge.
Because they are there.
They perhaps think it's not necessary. Yeah. Let's take a short break and then come back, wind up on that, Professor.
Here, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics.
Sabak.
It is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, like this is alive.
Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao, hauwezi ukajua waliopitia. Kwa sura zao zinapong'aa, hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori na historia. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutuku.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes. And I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Lover of farming? Well, Kilimo Diaries is your home for different farming ventures, crops, animals, and so much more. Every Sunday.
And on set, we have Professor Macharia Munene, we have Mheshimiwa Jimmy Gakuya, as well as Luciola Stan. Stan, this one is a tongue twister. This one is from Western, eh?
Yes,
this is a Western name, eh?
Yeah, we have beautiful names.
Beautiful names, I must admit. Luciola,
fact,
it can be a tongue twister.
It is not just Stan, it's Stanislaus.
Let's not go to that.
We shorten it for people who are not used to tongue twisters.
And it's even because now Stanislaus Alusiola.
Stanislaus Philip Alusiola.
It can be a tongue twister. So as we close on this one, Professor, because I cut you short on that very matter. In as much as we'd want to say that, well, again, this other side that we are being encouraged to focus on is good. We saw the other time we had opportunities for our nurses to go and work in Britain. And you can imagine the numbers that were successful.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the reasons why the majority did not, manage to proceed to this other side was that they said they could not even understand basic language, basic English language. So what does it tell us anyway?
Well, which raises the question of how they got into the nursing school.
Yes.
Given that the nursing school is conducted in English. So so if they got the qualification, and they do not understand the language of operation, then something is wrong. We need to relook at our nursing schools, not just our nursing, all the schools. How are they being taught? In what language? And language is not just the English, but the simplicity and the clarity of it, so that somebody understands. So the fact that, I think it was thousands who applied to go.
Yes, thousands.
Yeah,
And
which tells you something
about
what's happening, that they can go. And those nurses, many of them who claim they are jobless, they're not job. So we need to synchronize. And this is a policy issue. It's a thinking issue. Not just, it's not mechanical. That we can do this and that. Then if you check some other areas, you say there is a little opening here. You get hundreds of applicants, of people who have no position at present. They would like something. And they are not in the arts, not in the humanities. So in some places, what I think I know, some good universities are refocusing. Wait a minute. Are we providing the proper education in terms of critical thinking, ability to think and raise questions? It's not the technical aspect of holding this and this. That can be done. It's always there and it's needed. But you also need that such that we do not end up with policymakers who make bad decisions because of some sort of structural ignorance. And it happens. In fact, in the world today, there is a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes being made because of structural ignorance on the part of the policymakers. And why does that come up? Because somewhere along the line, they missed critical components of education, critical thinking. And the ability to philosophize, raise questions, such that you don't end up in a mess because you do not think of the consequences of what you are doing. And in fact, you check, why is that happening? The people who decided did not think of what would happen thereafter. So we need to bring that into the picture. How decision makers have to think of the negative consequences and weigh them with the positive, and then take the balance and be able to defend that. Today, we have a lot of people who cannot defend the decisions they made. And I think that becomes necessary to bring it back into the education sector. There was time when a teacher was a very respected person. Extremely respected. That disappeared. We need to bring it back into our cultural setup. The professors, the university lecturers, who are highly respected people. I remember those days.
Long gone at this stage,
but something has gone wrong. Because we need to get that back, that respect for the profession, for the quality should be brought back, that we avoid making mistakes in the future. But it can be done.
Professor, we could go at least extra mile and try to let Kenyans understand which particular route could we really use to bring back this roast guruli, this roast. Because it's a big space, and I talk about generation.
It's a big problem.
Because the current generation we are in today, Professor, you realize a student has no single respect to the tutor.
Yes.
And we also realize that the teacher is the one who is supposed to create discipline measures. But you realize that, in fact, their behavior in the school are totally different from during the tenure of the professors and This is a different... Because you realize a teacher, maybe will come to the classroom wearing totally differently. And you can't imagine that that's a tutor. And number two, you realize the tutor and the way he's supposed to take herself so that the children can learn after that is totally negative.
Yeah.
And we have a big vacuum, and we need to think. And I also support the route the professor has just stated, that in fact sometimes we make some policies, like members who does something on the consequences thereafter.
Yeah.
But I can also tell you, reader, we have a tradition in our house which also should change. That actually we have carried with our political parties all the way to the chamber.
Yeah.
And you realize, to those maybe very important policy, you realize there is a big tug of war. There is who are pro and against. But you realize during the time of voting, the voting does not bring in the element of the weight of the matter.
Yeah.
So nobody is clearly after what will happen tomorrow.
Right.
One is just trying to vote to praise the party.
Yeah.
One is trying to vote to praise the boss. And if this is the route to go, then it's a bad direction.
It's a corrupt society, is a collapsed one for that matter. You speak of it being a collapsed one, and you know, I look at the report this morning, and I don't know whether this one we want to delve deep into, but it's the reality on ground. And perhaps, you know, this that you call the humanities, the very subjects that carry what is the moral fabric, are the very subjects that, you know, would get you saying that before I do this, I think God will not be happy. Before I do this, historically, our ancestors never used to do this. And sometimes they could even incorporate some myths and lies therein so that we stick to the line. And true to it, it's been a good society until such reports are to the fore. These reports speak of a state of nation, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they call us a cheating nation. Yes. That today a man will have 7, partners comfortably. You know, a woman 2, 3 there and thereabout. That today we will not have people, you know, taking advantage of these spaces of making sure that they go and get tested and all that. We have normalized this.
I think the moral fabric is completely rotten. And this came from the Kenya Bureau of Statistics.
Statistics, you know.
And I don't think they are lying.
This is the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, to be honest.
They must have done their research well.
Yes.
And
you know, when you read these things, sometimes you laugh to yourself because you see a lot of truth. Even in, you know, you get yourself to that moment where you judge yourself and you're thinking, if I can do this, then somebody else at least is as well doing it.
Yeah, as I have said, the moral fabric is totally rotten. And for sure, I wonder, in the present economic dispensation, how does a man or a woman manage to have like 7 or 2 partners?
It is precisely that maybe you will have 7 for this reason, for another reason, and for another reason, for another reason.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because Kenyans generally are looking at ways of survival. We have seen various stories coming on social media. Women are trying to entice men into relationships for certain reasons. Maybe they want this one to pay for rent, this one to pay for their beauty, the other take care of their children, and the rate of even divorce and separation is very high. Therefore, there is a lot that is happening. The church itself, which needs now to inculcate discipline in people, is a lying church. It is a cheating church. We have seen bishops, we have seen reverends, we have seen pastors who are involved in morality. So if I am a pastor, and I am publicly cheating, and I have a woman, do you expect my congregation to follow the things that I am preaching? They will follow the action that I am doing.
Yeah.
If I am a professor like Professor here, and I am known to have 2 or 3 partners, you expect my students not to have 3 or more?
Some of these partners, you know, are used to. And
yes, so it is actually known that when professor walks into a classroom, this is his girlfriend.
Yeah, he will favor this one.
Yes, he will favor the girlfriend by giving him maybe some things that other people will not get because they are not giving him sexual favors. Right. Therefore, this society, truly, as we speak, we are at a breaking point. Yes.
We have normalized this, Professor. I don't know. You know,
let me start by saying that I'm not guilty.
Oh.
Any of those things.
But would you? Do you agree that
there's some maybe?
But Professor, as you proceed, I still don't think that actual polygamy life is a bad life. Most of us are being brought up by polygamy fathers.
Yes.
But things are not going highway. The things are still normal.
Okay.
But currently, it is now going to another direction.
It is too much.
It's too much. One thing we must say, a positive thing, come out of this
report
is in favor of the source.
Yes.
Kenya Bureau. Because what I heard everybody here saying, it came from Kenya Bureau. It must be correct.
Okay. At least then
that's positive for Kenya Bureau.
Yes.
I mean, and they should keep that reputation.
Yes.
That if they
the credibility aspect.
The credibility. It's a very good thing.
Yeah.
That people are saying it is
trust.
credible because it came from there.
Yeah.
If it came from somewhere else, we would be putting question marks.
They've been paid this one's there.
And the issue of some teachers not being very nice to some people, or being extra nice. It's not a new thing. Remember,
it's been there.
In the 1960s, Joseph Kamaru sang a song, Daliamu Walimu. And the teachers were up in arms.
Yes. Why are you?
Why are you picking us? Picking us? I think you remember that one.
I remember.
And it was a debate in the public, because even the media. How the teachers were angry, and the late Philip Ochieng, as a columnist, he wrote a very nice column.
Yes, on that.
And so if you ban Kamaru, you should ban Nat, QED. Those days when...
Because this is the truth that is there.
It's been there that some male teachers have been bad people.
Yeah.
They misbehaved. But it's not everywhere.
Yeah.
It would be an exaggeration to say that it is not.
You are defending them because generally professors are teachers.
Of course. No, but I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
It does.
No, it does.
Yeah.
You know, we know that. But it is not that widespread as it might be implied.
Yeah.
But the fact that it even happens is bad in itself.
Right.
You know, in the small ways. And it needs to be countered. But then going back to how do we do it? Back to education, basic education. Back into values inculcated from baby school.
Yeah.
Not at the university.
Yes.
Baby school.
Yes.
And the religious organizations which have become a disaster in themselves. They are good people. They do good work. But we have thousands of denominations in Kenya. Of the claiming to be this or that or that. And sometimes they fight in the church physically.
Yes.
And what are they fighting for? Money. Not to mention those other things. The Mheshimiwa talks about polygamy. Yes, it was common, it was normal. In fact, some people were saying you should bring it back.
Yeah.
But that is not the issue here. The polygamy was normal and accepted. What is being talked about here
is cheating.
Morality.
Morality at its highest order has got nothing
altogether.
Yes.
Polygamy, women have been known each other. Today, you have 7, but none knows.
None of them.
They don't know each other.
Correct.
And you've not even married them, maybe.
Yeah.
Just a
But
fact.
Mheshimiwa, as you spoke about polygamy, today, the present-day Kenyan woman will not allow you to have a second wife. And if they know that you have a second wife...
Do they have a choice in the first place?
Consider yourself dead
no.
somehow. Yes.
And especially in my community.
You might die.
Utakura pampa.
That is the reason why...
Mount Kenya.
That's the reason why men have several. But they don't know
on the flanks, nobody gets to know. Professor.
But actually, polygamy is allowed in the Bible. After all, how many Solomon did Solomon?
900 and some concubines.
And David
there. Yes.
And he had so many official and assistants. And
also concubines.
No.
But we must admit that we are not in a good place.
No.
That we must admit. Because also the cases of, disease also, are on the rise. The crimes of passion equally on the rise. And so maybe, just maybe,
Yeah, we need to go back. Our moral compass needs to be reset.
Yes.
And as we are saying, of course, we need to improve our economy such that people don't become desperate.
Yes. And that is a big problem, especially for the women, I'll tell you,
Yes,
Professor.
it's desperation.
We sit down to speak.
Yeah.
And even back at home, your husband is not able to meet some of these things.
And then he becomes a miserable fellow.
Some of these things,
But
from the aspect of desperation.
they are not able to deliver because they have 7 other.
Now that also is another problem. So they have to balance this finances.
And in the balancing act, there are things that are not.
You inconvenience the family.
Exactly.
And so the woman decides that it's for me to salvage the situation by doing something else.
Yeah.
I think it's.
But I think it's basically. It's the bad economy.
Yes, it's the bad economy,
we have
clearly.
to hit somewhere.
Yeah.
Because if, let's say, the man is not able to provide at home in terms of food,
yes,
and
the basics.
The basics, he becomes a desperate person in himself. He is not able to be a man.
Yeah.
It's very bad. And then it percolates around.
The professor, I want to say that failure to have enough to provide provokes now the ex now to cheat.
No. It is a factor.
It does.
It is a factor. If in your house, you, and I know you have a nice house.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, of course. You have to have a nice house. Yes. How can you be a Muslim?
I cannot be a Muslim without a nice house.
Thank you.
But
not just
if in
one
that
time,
house, if in that house, your people are not eating properly, they are not clothed, they are not whatever, and your children cannot go to school, not because you don't want to.
You are unable.
You are unable to. You are just not able. What happens to you?
At least from the beginning of the onset that you have the responsibility to provide.
Yes, and if you can't,
if you do not,
if you are unable to,
if you are unable to, but you know, leader, one thing is that in fact we have changed our tradition, and we have adopted a culture in our country that at least both now spouse can provide. Yes, can go out and search and provide. You know, there are those days that actually the woman factor was just to take care of making sure that the children are clean and look for food. But the man was the one to go and look for either to hunt, but to come with those commodities to cook. Then the wife has to only to get commodity from the store and cook. But today, both of you are exiting from the home earlier at 6 or before, so that you can go to look for to fetch and then come back.
Can you speak
but
to
the attitude is still the same, even today.
Yes.
The attitude is still the same.
That the man
has to provide.
But you know, your men, our men are not. You know, our boys have completely lost it.
Yeah.
You know, they can comfortably say, I'm not able to provide. And they leave it at that. I am not able, please understand, I am not able. Unlike what we saw with our fathers.
Yeah. So we need to change that.
We need to change that.
Single parenting, in a way, has
contributed
promoted to a lot of laziness.
But why do we even get to that space? Why should we allow for our men to go and, you know, run away from responsibilities and allow for women to be single on this other side?
Professor has actually put it very straight, that the economy is doing bad.
It is.
Exactly. Look at this. Post-COVID-19, a lot of people lost jobs. Okay?
Yeah.
Have we, in a way, as a government, created any job opportunities for those who lost jobs in the hospitality industry? Nothing.
Maybe no.
Yeah. So today, as we are speaking, Hilton closed down. I think you know that. Intercontinental closed down. You know that?
Yeah.
Holiday Inn, somehow they closed some of the branches. How many of those people, because I think those are employees in their thousands, have we created any other opportunity for these people to be taken into employment? No. So men are depressed. And if a man is depressed, the whole family gets depressed. And if you are a man and you have a woman, and a woman can be able to smell whether you have money or not. The moment they smell that you don't have money, they will look for other options. Of course. What is the easiest option? To look for your friend who has it. A woman will cheat with your friend.
And your friend will not say no.
They will take money for your friend, come buy food for your children, and you will not realize it. So, we are depressed as men. And that's the reason why men are being killed, men are being cheated.
You know, I want to speak in defense of the girl child, but I will not. I will not because of time, yeah? And I'll also say that, fine, it is extremely bad and perhaps a conversation that we need to have in depth and, you know, come to a point of acceptance on some of these things that are happening. Why I'm saying we're not going to go to that, because I will be here defending the ladies and I'm not supposed to take sides. And so save me from that.
You're just human.
I'm human before I am Linda, before I'm
There's nothing wrong with that, actually. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, that's the reality of the matter. But, you know, again, these are politicians that I have on set. So if I allow them to exit this space before we have spoken politics, and I mean, they will also politic on everything and anything, it would be unfair. That the president comes to tell us that, you know, there was an attempt on the life of Chebukati on this very time is interesting. You could be privy to some of this information, because we still look at them as allegations by President William Ruto that there was a plot to abduct and kill Chebukati over the 9th of August poll.
Unless we are behind the news. That was the reality.
That was the reality.
Yes.
So this goes beyond that aspect of allegation.
You know, the D-Day of announcing the winner, I was in Bomas, and I witnessed very, very crazy moment. And I was also, at some point, I realized the police are not with us, police service are not with us, and we are alone. And everything is going to be messy. Because the commissioners are attacked in the presence of the police service, and they are not taking any single action, they are mute. So what are they expecting? Then it tells you obviously that actually there was a mechanism to make sure that there will be no announcement of this sort either way.
To an extent of taking the life of the chairperson.
To an extent that if you can be able to punch them to any level, but the exercise of announcement must not take place.
Can it be this?
And that was the situation. And I can tell you, at that moment, the commissioners were able to at least to come out very clearly that, in fact, the Chebukati and the two slept in the premises 2 days. They couldn't leave. Because actually they were very sure that actually they are ready to be abducted.
I know this is very common in Africa, and we have seen, you know, leaders' lives being taken. But was this dire to that space?
I can tell you, Rita, if that last day was as critical as it was, then like, along the lines, what was the mission? Was there any single action taken after the crazy moment? And the culprits were well known. We know this is Adema, this is who. We are. And
so whom are we supposed to ask that question?
And up to date, nobody has dared to. And let me tell you what happened with the then police commissioner. Then he, in his own way, behaved as if he's sick, and he resigned from. Let me tell you, it was crazy, and I can tell you the same situation I went through, because during my announcement as the winner, the same critical situation was the same mechanism. I am telling you, I was saved by the Red Berets, and even in Bomas we were saved by the Red Berets. If the Red Berets could not be anywhere within, it
could have been a different thing. Allow us to take a short break, and then we come back. Speak to that some more. Yes.
Yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics.
Sabak.
It is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, you know, like this is a lie.
Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao, hauwezi ukajua waliopitia. Kwa sura zao zinapong'aa, hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. nyuma yao ipo stori na historia. Katika kipindi Ufahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutu.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes, and I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Lover of farming? Well, Kilimo Diaries is your home for different farming ventures, crops, animals, and so much more. Every Sunday, with a new year comes endless possibilities, and as we continue to tell the stories
Honorable Jimmy Gakuya, Professor Macharia Munene. We also have activist Luciola Stan. Stan what? Stanislaus. All right. So you can see the passion, you can see the remorse, you can see the anger, you can see the disappointment in Mheshimiwa. You can as well see that when the president is speaking. And I think he also spoke to it the very first time when he spoke to the media this year. And he was saying if some of these things were to be brought to the fore, it is ugly. Maybe to start with you, Stan, before Professor says a thing. They remain as allegations, and just how damning and how doubting are they to the process of the election in the country?
First of all, I would want to agree with Mheshimiwa Gakuya that the events that took place prior to the declaration of results at Bomas were not only sad, but were shocking. Because some of us were not at Bomas, but we were glued to TV.
Yes.
And we were following each and every event that took place. And I saw Chebukati being attacked live on TV. And were it not for the resilience of Kenyans, this country was breaking into pieces. So Kenyans have gone over the whims and the feelings of politicians. Because when we are in an electioneering period, from the presidential level, gubernatorial level, MPs level, to MCAs level, it is a do or die. Some of these politicians are getting into politics as an employment. So they either get it or get it. You understand? Therefore, I want to applaud Kenyans, I included, because I remember in 2007, we were on the streets fighting even before the declaration of results. Here at Bomas, we saw what happened, but Kenyans still stayed put. They actually gave Chebukati, his team, and even the security agencies to execute their mandate. What I would want to say is that the president must now move away from making these allegations and heal the nation. He should take this trajectory that the other day I saw him in Nyanza region, and he was warmly received. Let him take this trajectory and heal the nation. He cannot be in Nyanza saying that this is what we are doing, then comes back and says, look, these people wanted to kill them.
But if he doesn't speak of this, how will we get to a space of justice? Because even in this, there's a...
As Professor put it offline, we need to have some kind of Kriegler commission.
Yes.
And this has to be done silently. Because when the president comes and says, look, this is what he said it during the first presser. He has repeated it. He's actually anachimbua kidonda. Because as we are speaking, there are Kenyans. Half of Kenyans are not even watching news.
Yes.
Because they feel like this is not their president. He should heal the nation by moving away from making such remarks.
Okay.
And Kenya is going, because Kenyans are looking at what is critical to them now. The politics of bombers are gone.
Are they gone? Are they gone just yet? We're talking about an independent electoral body. We are set to form another one, another commission. We are talking about an election process that is supposed to take us from point A to point B. We understand that politics is basically everything and anything in this nation. Can we just say that we have outgrown this?
I think we do need an investigation about everything that happened before, during, and after.
And after.
As to whether it should be loud investigation or quiet investigation, a Kriegler type of thing, which would involve good people from all sides. And there are good people in Azimio, honest people, they are there. There are honest people in Kenya Kwanza, and they are good Kenyans.
Yes.
So get the best of these honest people who will look at the truth and give a good report. Not put some sycophants there or some cronies and say you have a commission.
Yeah.
No, it has to be a serious one. And be a Kriegler type of so that you have a balancing thing. Yeah? But it needs to come out. And then the president and his deputy should step out of the way.
Okay.
Exactly.
You know, I think sometimes they say things that raise questions about what are they up to. Yeah. Some of those things are not part of the healing that he's talking about. We need that part of the healing. And one way is, apart from the president going to different places, which is extremely good.
Yeah.
It's also for his people to control their mouths. So that they don't keep on annoying people with strange utterances, which are not adding value. But while they are doing that, the healing part, they also have to come up with this investigation. We must know. It's good that the president has started well, because he's created a few commissions here and there. The Munav Commission on Education.
Yes.
Now we have the Maraga Commission,
yeah.
And I think we have it's good. So even this one needs a serious commission, because the truth should come out.
Okay.
And the allegations that he made are very serious allegations.
Exactly.
Coming from a president.
Yeah.
Very serious. They cannot be taken lightly. Therefore, there is need to do what? For proper investigation. Yeah. I was not like Mheshimiwa at Bomas, but I was watching.
Yes.
Exactly.
And what did I see? I saw chaos that should not be there.
Very ugly.
And I saw Sapit.
Calming the situation.
Oh yes, the Sapit should be given credit.
Right.
Whatever it is, whether you like it or not, give him credit. He did his part, and it helped to calm the situation. But whatever happened, we need to know what was going on, what was the motive,
the people behind
it, and what was the objective. So even when we are looking at recreating the commission, because now we have to recreate, because there is no commission. They have all disappeared. Yes. So we need, and the Waheshimiwa have a job to make sure that we get the right people.
Will they really?
Yeah. They will go and talk about it, but he said something about the parliament, which is not very good, that they don't think straight, they don't vote honestly. That's what he said.
About the party interest.
That they should rise above that. But the people they get, the 7 Kenyans, because they have to be Kenyans, in my view, well, this matter of getting foreigners and
to come and
the Camagos.
But are we not taking our president, our former president, to these other countries as well to speak to this, and so?
No, the former president is doing a good job being an envoy to the president, because he is going there on behalf of Kenya.
Yeah.
And,
to speak to the issues in these countries in
the,
form of peace,
he's been sent
stability.
there to help restore order and peace. In the Congo, and Congo is a difficult one because from the time of Leopold II, it's still a mess. It's still a mess. And there are a lot of interests which are beyond Africa that are involved in the mess in the Congo. One of the problems we have is that we do not address those forces outside Africa that are messing up the Congo. We just keep on talking about M23 and some other
neighboring countries.
But the forces behind it, we are quiet about it. We have problems in South Sudan. We have problems in Ethiopia. I think Uhuru is doing a good job for Kenya in that capacity.
Right.
And he's doing that with the blessings of the president. So that is quite in order. But that's a different matter. That's Kenya projecting itself as a mini power in the region.
The same way they would say, let's send you some people so that you can have these conversations and, you know, just join in an African figure from a different country so that they can help you.
I mean, in the investigation that we are talking about, maybe they can have 1 or 2 people to join the commission. But the commission itself, I mean, the investigation commission, the IBC, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That one has to be Kenyan.
Oh, yes, for the IBC,
The IBC has to be Kenyan, through and through. And,
maybe, Professor, you can also address, as we are almost concluding, also the manner in which we does appoint those commissioners. To me, it is so hypocritical. And let me tell you, this country has been killed by hypocrisy. That people hide behind the or under the table, and you realize that the manner in which these commissioners have been appointed are in portions. There is a portion for what we call church, fraternity, political parties, and so on. At the end of the day, then it tells you somebody is just appointed with a purpose by the seconder who seconded you to that particular commission. Unless we are going to change this kind of this criteria, don't you think that in fact whoever commission is be there will be totally dependent and is not going to be influenced by this one who appointed the appointing authority who seconded him or her to that particular commission? To me, I realize the reason why we had the Cherera 4 is because Cherera 4 have been appointed by somebody, and that somebody is the one who are influencing. So how do we get out of this messy tomorrow? Are we not going to get the same result? Yes, because assume
chances are very high.
These are political parties, and they are the political parties who second these people to the panel. Then at the end of the day, they has to at least listen to the appointing authority.
And that's a big problem, Professor.
That's a big problem, yes, and it is true what Mheshimiwa is saying. But I said earlier, they are good Kenyans here. On both sides, they are there. We just have to look for them. It's going to be difficult. But they are there.
But the issue here is, Mheshimiwa, it is the president who appoints the commissioners. And the names of the commissioners are subjected to Parliament. And you are the people who vote whoever that is going to be accepted and confirmed as a commissioner at the IEBC. So the buck also stops with you.
But the interest still falls to the floor of the House. Yes. That these parties are still have powers in the floor.
So my proposal is we have to expand the commission.
And overhaul, maybe.
We overhaul it and expand it. Now, through the devolution dispensation we are in today, my proposal is that we at least have a commissioner from each of these counties. So that you cannot, a presidential candidate, a gubernatorial candidate cannot now hold Professor Ransom because he was appointed or seconded by him. Every county has to be represented at the commission. As a commissioner,
constitutionally, what is the process?
The law has to be
We do not have that, so we have to review
there is, of course, there are doubts being cast on the integrity of the parliament.
And by the parliamentarians.
So we need to overhaul the parliament.
We need to look at the voter who's getting this.
Professor, there is a rukuna there. Yes,
problem,
you realize the parties have have
powers.
No, the Political Parties Act has given parties a lot of power to control the floor. Sometimes you realize members are handicapped.
I thought you said it's going to be different with the Kenya Kwanza government so far.
Really, the government has started well, but just also get into a mind that, in fact, at the end of the day, we have what we call traditions. That if it's a bill, and probably this bill, the opposition part or the other team is not in support of it, then there has to be what we call caucusing. And then the team will be called, will be given a direction. And then by the time of voting, they will vote to that direction, not by their conscience.
Okay, let me read this to
that's where the problem is. They are not voting conscious.
Yes. These messages that are very important. First of all, that was on the question of education. And I don't know why it's... okay, well, I've lost it. But someone says, we need to give the government a chance to work on this, curriculum. We should not be very quick to, judge or to just wash it away. Another person says, murder allegations are huge. The president must name the people who wanted to kill Chebukati.
Yeah, because from his allegations...
No, I don't think he should.
Not just yet.
No. That's why the commission...
The people should not be named.
To investigate.
That will be a duty of the commission.
Okay.
That commission will give what we call recommendations.
Yes.
Out of those recommendations is when the president can either act or either give another direction.
Okay.
But he cannot preempt the work that is going to be done by the commission.
Just how hungry are we for power? I still cannot get myself...
They're very, very hungry.
Is it, yeah?
And politicians by nature...
we can think of Chebukati and know how, the nation is at a very delicate space, and imagine that you could target the head of this...
But I can tell you,
but it is not unique to Kenya.
It's not unique to Kenya, but
so we saw it in the US.
Yes.
The president, Donald Trump. Yeah. See, he condoned the invasion of the Congress.
Yeah, he did.
to stop the count.
To stop the counting. Yes.
And we saw in Brazil, Bolsonaro.
Yeah.
Invading the institutions.
So common, yes.
It's
in Chad, even they went.
For the tragedy is that it might become common. It's not common. Yeah. But it might become common. That's the tragedy. Yeah. And the fact that Kenya may be involved in that kind of behavior is a disaster. It's bad for the country. Right. And it goes to the minds of the politicians, because it's not the minds of the politicians.
Yeah.
And the refusal to accept the institutions to do their work as they should is one thing that we need to correct. How do we prepare politicians to accept results as they come, not to feel as if they're entitled to winning. And because when you go to play football, those of us who try to play,
yes, the rules of the game.
You must. You know the rules.
Accept
the referee. You don't have to like the referee, but his call is his call.
Yes,
and it's official.
It's official.
You accept that. That's if you don't do that, then there's no game.
So why are we saying that winners should not take it all, and we are really rejecting this conversation?
These are excuses that are being cooked up by some scholars somewhere.
And successfully, they're going to get into this space where we're going to say now the opposition leader has an official just to tame them and to tell them.
No, actually, let me say, I'm opposed to that idea.
You are? Okay.
Yes. There's the creating a special office.
Yes, for the opposition.
And actually, if you check it properly, it's for an individual.
Yes, clearly.
It is clearly for an individual.
And they even say, this individual has mobilized votes, has gotten a half.
It's a lame excuse. So, we go into the game. We lose. We say, we lost. Yeah. We don't like it, but we lost.
But we lost.
We go to the next level. Then the next time you win, we don't say, now, you remember next time we allowed you in? Because
so please.
No, it will mess up the whole thing. Yeah. And it's being done for individual purposes, to favor individuals. Yeah. It's a backdoor handshake.
He is amongst a few people, Kenyans for that matter, who are pushing for an amendment of the Constitution.
Yeah.
What do you speak to that?
I want to differ with Professor in principle.
Yeah.
Because, but before I go to that level, we are a former British colony. You have spoken about hunger for power. Yeah. I think Kenyans need to emulate whatever Kenyan leaders who are seeking leadership positions should emulate what is happening in Britain. Because the prime ministers of Britain, once they feel like they have not achieved what they promised the people, they actually do what? Resign. Like last year, I think we had 3 or 4 prime ministers resigning. Let us emulate our former colony. On the issue of creation of the office of the opposition, I think it is something that has to be discussed. Professor, the World Cup just ended. You're talking about football. In the World Cup, Argentina won. They took the World Cup. And
there was a prize for number 2.
There was a prize for number 2.
And also prize number 3.
There was a prize for number 4. And number 4. Now,
that is the problem we have. Copy pasting.
Now, copy pasting.
The devil's advocate.
Because he used football as an example.
Okay.
I'm saying this is not a preliminary match.
Yes.
We are going for the final.
For the finals.
So in a final, at least there is a prize for the winner, and there is a conciliatory prize for the second runners.
For putting up a good fight.
Exactly, so that they don't just leave the whole tournament with nothing. And in so doing, by the way, let me tell you, in so doing, the political temperatures of this country, somehow, even after 2027 or 20, because you said that they are creating this position for a particular individual.
Yes.
It is there in the minds of Kenyans that if we create a position for the official opposition, then we are creating it for Raila Odinga. That is in the minds. But after Raila Odinga has left the political platform, there will be somebody else who will still feel like, I have used resources, I have leadership behind me, I have a political party behind me, I need to be somewhere. So we are creating this position, not necessarily for Raila Odinga.
But Rida, my view is that already we have a constitution which envisages that actually there is minority and majority in the floor of the House. What is lacking is a window where now the loser who is purported to be the official opposition leader can be able to enter into the floor of the House and take his position from the House. He's been locked out by the Constitution. Is where you need to do some amendment, because the official leader must be the minority in the House.
Yes.
That should be his position. Otherwise, he has seconded his power to the already elected person who takes the mantle of the minority.
Okay.
That's it. Then what we should do is not to create that office. Outside, we need to create a window of how that particular official leader can be in the floor of the House, either nominated by the party of his own, because that is possible.
But we also need to be very careful on the proposals that are being made, because also, if you read the proposal of the president, keenly, equally, speaking of where in particular this, clause should sit, that space where then there's a clause of the executive, or a chapter on the executive. If you're going to fit in this at that space,
Leader, my proposal is that we are not creating another office.
Okay.
But we find a way how this competitor who managed to be number 2 will also have a comfort. How does he have power or a room in the floor of the House? Let us open a window where he can, through his party, be nominated to be a member of parliament. And being a member of parliament, he can assume those powers of the minority in the floor.
Okay.
And he can take charge.
No, in the old constitution, which we threw out, I don't know whether it through good advice or...
Okay.
And a presidential candidate was also a parliamentary candidate.
Yes.
Okay? So if need be, you can say that a presidential candidate should also be a parliamentary what? So if he wins his parliamentary seat, he still is in parliament, he still be the leader. And you don't create a special position for him the way it used to be. And if the president, of course, we assume that the president will also win his parliamentary seat. So go back to that old way, and you don't create a special. Like the proposal I was reading, the one I say, this particular person, whoever it is going to be more powerful than the deputy president.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Because it's still not clear what the deputy president is.
And you say, wait a minute, what are you saying?
Yes.
That this person who was not elected is going to be more powerful than deputy president. There's something wrong with that.
Okay. Good question.
Professor,
and this one is a question to you directly. Yeah. Professor, one of the viewers here says, ask Professor about the sword of Damocles, which slice, the slicer and the sliced has come to hound. He goes ahead to say that if the president has, mentioned this in broad daylight, unless it's hot air, you should go ahead to mention the names.
I mean, if he had asked me, I would say, please don't do that.
Because the danger that lies. I think it's now what you're talking about, critical thinking. What happens after you?
What happens, you know. So, but since he did it, of course, we had heard that there were these things. But for him to say that, or even for his deputy to have said that, but it is the president who said it. Now, having said that, he has no choice now.
But to name?
Yes.
No.
Because the commission.
Investigation.
Yes.
Okay. You know,
yes.
He has no choice but to have an investigating commission. How it is to be comprised is another matter. My suggestion is that he should be seen to be even. There should be people from Kenya Kwanza, and there should be people from Azimio. Okay? And then you should have, for that Krieger touch, an international angle. Okay.
Why, Professor, can't we have professionals who can be picked? But not look for this element of political sides.
They are there. No, they are there.
These political sides.
Both sides have those professionals. They are there. What I'm saying, for the perception purpose.
Don't you think that they will also take sides at the decision making?
That's why I say we have good people in Kenya. They are there.
Yes.
Okay. And we have to look.
Let me agree with you.
We have to look for them.
All right.
And the perception is that you are being even. Yeah? You are putting people who can think, who are honest, who will not be swayed the wrong way.
Yeah.
And they will say, no, these are the facts.
People like Chebukati, as the president and the deputy would say,
Chebukati is a good example.
Yeah.
People like Chebukati.
How would Chebukati sit?
No,
but is the president and the well, he would not sit in that, but we're just saying good people.
Good people.
Yes, and the president says they are there.
They are there.
Yes.
They are there.
Yeah.
We just have to do a
Would
little
you
bit
make
of
some
work.
proposals? Because it's you really insisted that there are good people in this
They are.
country.
No,
and as much as you speak
out of
about
the 50 million Kenyans, and of them, maybe 20 million are doubt.
There was an assessment which gave 27%.
So those people,
integrity people.
I don't want to believe that even less out of the 5 million people who are professionals of one sort or the other, that they are not good people. They are there.
Yeah.
And our task is then to look for those good people and task them with this investigation.
Yeah.
And no, just the way we say that the Kenya Bureau, you see, we all agreed.
Yeah, we all agreed that at least there's an entity there. At least we are convinced.
So people who can be accepted, like the Kenya Bureau. I'm not saying you take people.
Now take the Kenyan.
No. But people that can be accepted and believed that, yes, that person may be in Kenya Kwanza, but he's okay. Or she's okay. That one is in Azimio.
She's factual.
But it's good, yeah? These are people you can rely on. To be honest and to look at the facts as they are. And not to start imagining that you can create your own facts.
Your own facts.
And force people to accept them. Right. Because collectively, people are very intelligent.
Yeah.
They see through things. And when they see through things, they can throw you away and say, we don't want you.
Clearly. Stan, let's sum it up.
Yeah, as I said, first of all, we have been deemed a cheating nation.
Yeah.
And this is not just, it is not going to be a Kenyan affair. Our neighboring countries will know that we do not only cheat in relationships, we also cheat in leadership, we also cheat in offices, we also cheat at family level, at education level, everywhere. Kenyans are cheating. So out there, we have already formed an opinion against us. I think Professor and Mheshimiwa, Professor does not agree to the issue of amending the constitution to include the official opposition, but Mheshimiwa does. I also do. So it is two
It's,
against
it's a
one
constitutional
already.
moment. The eyes have it.
The eyes have it. Professor, you will now have to bring your dissenting opinion so that it's included in all this. Lastly, I think I will say something about repackaging of goods. We see supermarkets repackaging sugar and other commodities. I do not know where they get this sugar. As the sugar industry is ailing, we see supermarkets actually retailing supermarkets repackaging sugar.
Yeah.
Where are they getting this sugar
From?
So to cushion the Kenyan farmer, the government needs to relook at the sugar law in order to make our companies grow again, to ensure that the farmers are getting the subsidies in terms of fertilizer and any other things that are involved in farming of sugarcane and any other crop.
Yeah.
So that the Kenyan farmer, the Kenyan man and woman can be able to go back to the farm and do it and create products for this country.
Right.
That is what I can I'll ask Mheshimiwa as you're going back to Parliament. Find a way to relook at some of the laws that are governing the sugar industry.
And beyond the sugar
I
industry.
I go to Naivas. Naivas is repackaging sugar and labeling it with a Naivas label.
Maybe all the supermarkets.
You go to
today.
Chandarana,
Yes,
you go to
all
Quickmart, and these guys are buying it, and they are the people who have to come up with policy.
Okay.
So if Mheshimiwa and his compatriots or colleagues in Parliament are not going to do it, then we will be forced as civil society to go to court to stop these companies, to stop these supermarkets from repackaging any kind of good.
An interesting conversation, that one, Pandora's box. We will perhaps open it some other time, Mheshimiwa. Professor.
Thank you. You know, one of the things he said about Naivas and Quickmart, it's a very nice thing because Naivas and Quickmart are Kenyan.
Okay. Okay. And so there's no harm.
They are homegrown. We need to encourage them not to do the wrong things.
Yes.
Yes.
No, we encourage them because when you see Naivas and Quickmart cropping up everywhere, it says Kenya is doing well. The Kenyans, because those are Kenyans. That's one thing. But my comment is, I think it's too early to start tinkering with the Constitution for whatever reason. It's too early. We have bigger issues to worry about. And tinkering with the Constitution is not one of the big ones. Yeah. We need to have an investigation of what happened last year, in part because the president has spoken about a very serious issue, murder. The murder of an election official. That's bad. So we need a proper investigation to unearth the truth so that those sort of things are not repeated in future. We need an attitude change among the politicians, not to behave like Donald Trump. So we copy. We don't want that kind of mentality in the country. If anyone has it, throw it out of the way. So with that kind of thing, then we will be moving forward. Right. Yes, I think we need a proper education reevaluation. Constitute a good electoral body. We need to. And those should be the people we put there. In any of these commissions and offices, we really need to be very careful that we are putting the right people who can be independent, fair, credible. Yeah. And then we shall have no problem. Thank you.
Close it up.
Linda, my take is that we have all agreed that, in fact, we have a mess in our education system. And where we are going along is that, in fact, even though we can start now correcting right from the ACD primary level, what do we do to those tutors who are already spoiled? And they are the people that we entrust
our children
now to take charge to our children. In this case, I think that, in fact, there is a necessary need to also either retrain our tutors, because already, if they are the people that we entrust to also take morals back to our children, take them up, and they are already spoiled, how will this happen? You realize that from the ECD teacher, primary teacher, secondary teacher, all the way to the university, there is total corruption. You realize that degrees are being given out, and degrees that are not worked for, and it is lecturers who are doing this. How do we get out of this mess if we still think that it is the student who will be collected? Who will collect him? If the lecturer is the one and he's taking bribe to make sure that actually the student gets what, then we are going to have a wasted student getting out of our education system who can do nothing out there, but they have very good CVs. These CVs will not be able to assist this country at all. How do we collect this mess? Then I think there is a serious need of redemption, and the professor can tell us how we can be able to manage this.
Say the economy.
So that we can get to
reorganize the Ministry of Education and University Management.
And treat the economic disease.
Yes, and my final remarks is that I still believe Chebukati is a hero. And I can tell you, having been the presence of that particular bombers of Kenya, and the threats that were just facing him, including that actually he was being beaten during the daylight, and having courage to come back and announce me to him, that was very serious commitment to the country. And therefore I still stand to say he's a hero of this country, and that's where we are today, celebrating peaceful Kenya. So we need more Chebukatis in Kenya in all positions who can stand firm and do the right thing without being influenced by other masses outside.
The Honourable Member of Parliament of Embakasi North, Jimmy Gakuye Mushimba, thank you so much for your time. And none other than Professor Macharia Munene, who's a political historian. Thank you so much. Your subject is being hit, or your subjects are being hit hard, and I can understand the pain, you know, and the fear of losing this aspect or this component in society. Stan Alusiola, civil rights activist, asante sana as well for speaking to us this morning. We close this one, but not in totality, because we are shifting gears to a different conversation. So don't you go anywhere as we get to hit the kitchen on Tasty Wednesday.